On October 17th, we observed the continuation of offensive operations by Russian forces on the Kupyansk-Svatove-Kreminna line, which resulted in some confirmed advances towards Kupiańsk. Geolocation data released that day showed that Russian troops had moved approximately 1.5 kilometers west of Yakhidne towards Ivanivka, located approximately 20 kilometers southeast of Kupiańsk. The General Staff of Ukraine reported that Russian forces were unsuccessful in their attempted attacks in the direction of Kupiańsk, especially in the areas of Synkovka, 8 kilometers northeast of Kupiańsk, Ivanivka, 20 kilometers southeast of Kupiańsk, and Kyslivka, 23 kilometers southeast from Kupiańsko. There were also unsuccessful Russian attacks in the direction of Swatovo, especially in the vicinity of Stelmachivka, 15 kilometers northwest of Kupiańsk, and Nadiya, 15 kilometers southwest of Swatovo. The spokesman of the Ukrainian Eastern Group of Forces, Captain Ilya Yevlash, announced that Russian forces were concentrated in the areas of Synkovka, Ivanivka, Stelmachivka, and Nadiya to strengthen their strategic positions against the upcoming weather difficulties. Russian mill bloggers claim that Russia is continuing its offensive towards Kupiańsk and refining its tactical positions northeast of the city and west of Swatovo. One of Millblogger's accounts suggests that Russian forces are moving through fortified areas west of Ploshchenko, 20 kilometers southwest of Swatovo, and continuing attacks on Ukrainian crossings across the Oskol River, flowing west of Swatovo. The Russian Ministry of Defense, MON, announced that on October 17th, Ukrainian forces made limited and unsuccessful counterattacks on the Kupyansk-Svatove-Kreminna line. Many Russian sources reported that Ukrainian forces were trying unsuccessfully to dislodge Russian troops from their positions near Kupiańsk and in the Swatovo region. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov expressed his gratitude to North Korea for its fundamental, unequivocal support in the context of the war with Ukraine. This information was reported by the Russian state media RIA Novosti on October 18th. Lavrov additionally expressed appreciation for North Korea's position, which officially recognizes Ukrainian territories that Russia has illegally annexed. It is worth noting that Syria is the only country that has also recognized this illegal annexation. Lavrov's visit to North Korea came a month after North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met with Russian leader Vladimir Putin in Russia's far eastern Amur Oblast. Talks between Lavrov and North Korean Foreign Minister Choi Song-hui are also planned. Recently, reports of impending relations between Russia and North Korea have increased. U.S. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby reported on October 13th that North Korea had delivered over 1,000 containers of weapons and ammunition. However, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov strongly denied reports that North Korea was supplying weapons to Russia. October 17th this year, Ukraine used U.S.-supplied long-range ATACMS missiles to launch the first attack against Russian targets in occupied Ukraine. This information was confirmed by the Wall Street Journal and other Western media. The United States provided Ukraine with an ATACMS system with a range of 165 kilometers in secret, which was revealed in the last days of October. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed the effectiveness of ATACMS in his speech the same day, although he did not directly confirm that it had been used in specific attacks. Russian sources claimed that Ukrainian forces used ATACMS during the attack on Berdyansk and Luhansk. There are also reports of Ukraine using ATACMS M74 cluster missiles. The United States likely provided the ATACMS systems in secret to surprise Russian forces and achieve the intended effect in the Russian information space. The command of the Ukrainian Special Operations Forces did not confirm the use of ATACMS, but said that as a result of the attacks, 9 Russian helicopters of various types, special equipment, an anti-aircraft missile launcher, an ammunition depot were destroyed and the runway infrastructure was damaged. Footage from Berdyansk shows heavy fires and explosions resulting from the detonation of ammunition. It is believed that Ukrainian ATACMS attacks on important Russian airports will force Russia to disperse its air assets and withdraw some of its aircraft to airports further west. Russian forces have made particular use of the Berdyansk airport to counter Ukrainian attacks, but the ATACMS delivery allows Ukraine to launch attacks on Russian airports on a larger scale. Russian observers noted similarities between the attacks on Berdyansk and Luhansk and earlier Ukrainian attacks on Stelmachivka airport using the HIMARS system. The arrival of Western-supplied HIMARS systems had previously enabled Ukraine to successfully attack Stelmachivka and caused significant losses to Russian air forces. Russian observers noted that Russia has adapted its airfields to accommodate Ukrainian long-range attack capabilities, but ATACMS pose a new threat that requires adaptation. Dispersing Russian aircraft at airfields in occupied Ukraine and moving them further from the front lines will disrupt Russia's air support for defensive and offensive operations. This will be particularly important in the case of helicopters that operated close to the front line and will now have to operate further from it. The dispersion of air resources will also create greater coordination and sustainment challenges for the Russian Aerospace Forces, VKS. According to Governor Sergei Lysak, on October 18th, Russian forces carried out 4 artillery attacks on Nikopol in the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, as a result of which a 36-year-old man was wounded. According to information, his condition is stable and treatment will continue at home. The governor also reported that as a result of these attacks, a fire broke out in a local hotel, but the fire was quickly extinguished by emergency services. Additionally, 7 houses and 4 farm buildings were damaged. The city of Nikopol is located on the largely dry Kakhovka Reservoir, across from the Russian-occupied Enerhodar nuclear power plant and Zaporozhye, making it a frequent target of Russian attacks. It is worth noting that this is not the first time that Russia has attacked the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast on October 18th. Earlier in the day, Russia attacked the Dnipro Oblast, killing 1 person and injuring at least 4 others. The number of Ukrainians who want to leave the besieged Gaza Strip has increased to 298. This is what the Ukrainian ambassador to Israel, Yevhen Kornichuk, announced on October 18th during an appearance on national television. Earlier, on October 10, 3 days after the Hamas attack on Israel on October 7th, a spokesman for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine reported that 150 Ukrainians stuck in Gaza had contacted the embassy and expressed interest in evacuation. There has been conflicting information regarding the opening of the Rafah border crossing from Gaza to Egypt. 2 hours before the scheduled evacuation on October 14th, Israeli authorities withdrew permission for foreigners to use this crossing. Palestinian officials announced on October 16th that the crossing would be open, but at the time of publication, reports from Gaza suggest it remains closed. Thousands of people lost their lives as a result of the fighting in Gaza. On October 17th, hundreds of people died in an attack on a hospital in Gaza City. Responsibility for this tragic event rests with Israeli and Palestinian officials, who blame each other. As of October 18th, 23 Ukrainians were killed as a result of the Hamas attack on Israel. To date, approximately 450 Ukrainians have been evacuated from Israel, and more evacuation flights are planned in the coming days. On October 17th, Ukrainian forces continued their offensive operations in the Bakhmut area and made some confirmed progress. Geolocation data released on October 16th indicates the movement of Ukrainian forces northwest of Zalesnyanska, which is 9 kilometers northwest of Bakhmut. The Russian Ministry of Defense, MON, reported that elements of the Russian southern grouping of forces repelled 9 Ukrainian attacks directed towards Donetsk. A Kremlin-linked Russian mill blogger claimed that Russian forces repelled Ukrainian attacks near Kyslivka, which is 7 kilometers southwest of Bakhmut. On October 16th, Russian mill bloggers reported ongoing fighting in the Orychiv-Vasilivka area, which lies 10 kilometers northwest of Bakhmut and along the Klishchevka-Andriivka-Kurdyumivka line, which extends from 7 to 13 kilometers southwest of Bakhmut. Ukrainian military observer Konstantin Mashovets said Ukrainian forces managed to break through Russian defenses north of Klishchevka, manned by elements of the 1,428th Motorized Rifle Regiment and the 102nd Motorized Rifle Regiment, which are part of the 150th Motorized Rifle Division and the 8th Army Combined Army, operating within the Southern Military District. On October 17th, Russian forces continued attacks around Bakhmut, but made no confirmed progress. The Ukrainian General Staff reported that Russian forces carried out unsuccessful attacks in the areas of Kyslivka and Andriivka, which are located 10 and 13 kilometers southwest of Bakhmut, respectively. The spokesman of the Ukrainian Eastern Group of Forces, Captain Ilya Yevlash, announced that Russian forces are conducting a counterattack near Kupyansk, which lies 13 kilometers southwest of Bakhmut, and transferring reserves to the area. According to information from Russian sources, on October 17th, Ukrainian forces attempted unsuccessful ground attacks in the area of the border between the Donetsk and Zaporizhia oblasts. These sources report that Russian forces successfully repelled 3 Ukrainian attacks in the vicinity of Staromajorsk, located 9 kilometers south of Veliky Novosilka, and an unsuccessful attack by a Ukrainian sabotage and reconnaissance group northeast of Pryutna, which is located 15 kilometers southwest of Veliky Novosilka. The Russian news aggregator also reports that Ukrainian forces launched an assault near Pryutny on October 16th, but does not provide its results. On October 17th, Russian forces conducted limited ground attacks in the border area of the Donetsk-Zaporozhye Oblast, but achieved no confirmed progress. The Ukrainian General Staff reports that Ukrainian forces successfully repelled 5 Russian attacks south of Zolota which is 12 kilometers southeast of Veliky Novosilka, and Prechestivka, 17 kilometers southeast of Veliky Novosilka. A Russian mill blogger reported on October 16th that Russian forces were attempting to improve their tactical positions in the vicinity of Pryutny and Novomayorsk, which is located 18 kilometers southeast of Veliky Novosilka.